Ciara, Conlon, thank you for agreeing to do this interview this morning.
Lovely to be part of it. Thank you for inviting me.
You're something of a productivity guru. I think in the current environment, I feel people could do with advice on productivity. I think productivity is very much a challenge just now.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, we're thrown into different ways of working, which is one of the biggest challenges. It's trying to adapt and working with children around and all of those things. So it pushes us definitely to our limits.
Ciara, you're author of Productivity for Dummies, which I took great joy in sharing with my management team. It's 90,000 words of wisdom. Where do we start to improve our personal productivity on a daily basis?
My approach, or when I start to work with people, it's kind of a two-pronged approach. A lot of people say you have to be very clear about your goals, which of course is important. But for a lot of people, we are so cluttered with the day-to-day. There's so much going on, social media. It's hard to get clear about what that clear vision is for the future. So I advise people to start trying to clear that clutter that surrounds them on the ground level. At the same time, be looking at, what do I want to achieve? What are the goals? What are my priorities? So what I mean by clearing that clutter is having more systems to get organized, clearing out the inbox bit by bit, introducing little ways of organizing ourselves that help us to become clearer about that end goal.
Yeah, so it's recognizing you only have 168 hours in a week, so to do more, you have to do less of other things. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So actually, Steve Jobs is known to have said, focus is about saying no. So it's more important that we eliminate what we're not going to do and make a decision on that's not priority. So then we can put our attention and energy into what is priority for right now.
What's the biggest pitfall that you found with people trying to improve their productivity?
It's the rushing in, it's the reacting. So another tip that I give people is about if you're an Outlook user, you can set up Outlook so that it opens in calendar and use your calendar to plan your day and plan your week so that the first imprint on your brain is your plan, what you've decided is priority for today, rather than what most people do. And that is to go straight into the inbox and react. But it's also this thing about not taking responsibility. So we kind of feel overwhelmed. We don't have time to get organized is what I will hear a lot. And it really is, we have to step back and look at what can I do to make this better? And there's always something that can be done.
I love the quote that you use. I think it's on your website, but it's in the first page of your new book, which we'll come to later. The quality of life you lead is determined by the quality of your daily habits. I think that's very powerful. What's the best approach for improving our daily habits?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I suppose, what I realized where I came from a position of having really bad habits but really big dreams about life. And for me, it was that recognition of what I'm doing at the moment is not going to get me where I want to be. It's not going to help me achieve those goals. So it's about recognizing what is it that you're doing. And, life as well, it's happening right now. So it's really about how you want to spend each day and what you want that day to represent. Has this been a good day? And a good day for most people is usually when they've done the right thing or what they feel like is the right thing, when they've looked after their body, when they've, when they have things in control. So that's why good little habits can help you to do that. The best way to start is to start small. 10 minutes a day was the advice that I originally got when I wanted to write. I have 3 boys. 2 of them were very small at the time. And I remember complaining to a friend saying, I'd love to write a book, but where would I find the time? And she said to me, Ciara, 10 minutes a day will write a book. And that's honestly how I started. And it's now how I start a lot of new projects. And it doesn't even have to be 10 minutes. So for a lot of people now, they want to meditate, but 10 minutes, they would find that too difficult. So 1 minute relaxation, breathing exercise can help you to create momentum, which will help to create the habit over time.
And as you said earlier, prioritization, taking that 10 minutes to almost reward yourself rather than doing 10 minutes that you might have done previously.
Yeah, even if you decide you're going to do 10 minutes and you don't feel like it, do 1 minute. So then you can have that sense of, I've completed what I said I would do in terms of the habit, and it keeps you going so that you don't feel disappointed in yourself. So that's a technique that I use around my exercise. So I have these little 5-minute workouts from YouTube that I have saved. And if I really don't feel like working out or doing my exercise, I'll say, okay, just do the 5 minutes. And then I feel good about myself.
Ciara, when you discuss goal setting, you talk about connecting with underlying purpose. Why is that so important in terms of achieving your goals?
Again, it depends on what your goal is. But for a large percentage of goals, to achieve that goal, you have to create a habit. So if you want to run a 10K, you have to create the habit of running. If you want to write a book, you have to create the habit of writing. So it really is connecting with what do you have to do daily in order to become that person or achieve that goal that you want in the future.
You've had a long career in spreading positivity to people. What's the best piece of advice or lesson that you've learned during that career?
Oh, there's been so many, I suppose, but I'm a devil for setting deadlines for myself. And then sometimes I have to step back and see, well, who's waiting on this? You know, it might be a course that I'm creating or a book or whatever project I'm working on. But I have these deadlines for myself that sometimes are too strict or too tight. So it's stepping back again and looking at, does this really need to get done, or am I being stubborn about it? And being more realistic about what I need to achieve to ensure that there's balance in my life.
So constantly reappraising your priorities.
Exactly, yeah. So, you know, this is something, and sometimes after working with somebody and helping them to start to use their calendar, it's a realization that people make that their calendar and their time is their own. Yes, a lot of us, you know, a lot of people are working in office environments or working in large organizations where you're interacting with people and your time is not fully your own. But there's a large percentage of your calendar or your weekly schedule that is your own, and often we leave that to chance how that's going to be filled. So it is about looking and taking responsibility for your time, but also, does it really need to be done now, and how does this affect the bigger picture?
You reference Stephen Covey in a lot of your published work. Who's been the biggest influence in your career to date?
It is a lot about more the subject matter for me than any particular teacher. But there have been many, I'm sure. You know, even I love Malcolm Gladwell. I love his books, and you know, Simon Sinek has written a few good books. People like that.
In the current environment, there's lots of demands on people. What would your advice be?
It's about looking and seeing what's required for you right now. So most of us instinctively know that there's something in our lives or in our daily habits that isn't serving us. So just choose one thing that you're going to focus on. So whether that is going for a daily walk, focus on that and make sure you do that. And there's little ways and tricks, as we said, you know, even if you said to yourself, 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes a day. So make it so small that it's difficult to say no to it. So of course, most days, if you were to say, I'll do a 5-minute walk, once you get outside with your runners on in the fresh air, you're going to walk for longer. But on the days you don't feel like it, that's all you have to do. So, you know, whether it's exercise is needed more, whether, you know, some people would say they're really using this time to get organized and to get clear on their priorities. It could be that meditation. You've longed to try out meditation for a long time, and now you have a little bit of extra time. you're no longer commuting, so that could be the ideal time. Yeah, just choose one thing and focus on that. And that is the technique that you're going to be most successful with, is that single focus. And with creating habits, there's a concept called habit stacking. So if you create a new positive habit, let's say it is meditation, and you're going to do 5 minutes of meditation every day, stick with it for a month. And then what happens over time with habits is that we create and strengthen a neural pathway in the brain. And what we're trying to do is this repetition actually eventually automates the habit into the most primitive part of the brain, so that we no longer have to make a prefrontal cortex decision about, am I going to do this or not? So over time, if we focus on doing the habit in the same way, at the same time every day, our primitive brain takes over and goes, yeah, I'll do this for you now. And then once that happens, it's easier to stack another habit on top. So every day, if you meditate and you don't even think about doing it anymore because it's second nature, now, okay, that time I'm going to do another habit for 10 minutes after that, maybe journaling or exercise or whatever it might be.
I love the idea of the neuroplasticity of the brain, that you can continuously rewire it to improve over time. I think that's really powerful.
Absolutely. And that's really important as well. Very often when I'm coaching, maybe older people or people 40 plus, they'll often start with saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. My behaviors are my behaviors. And what I love is when we come to the end of the coaching and they realize, you were right. I am different. I have changed my behaviors. I have, started to see how I can be different, and I'm working on doing that. So that's probably the favorite part of my job. But it is true, we can change. My mother started a new habit at 83 of walking in the garden every day. So there's no limit to when we can create a new habit.
Oh, this is great. It's so rewarding when you see that change. You're author of 3 published books, including the latest one, this one here, Rise Before Your Bull and Other Habits of Successful People. Can you explain the title and what can we expect for those that haven't read the book?
Of course. So very briefly, the title came from a concert I was at in South Africa many years ago. And the musician was Johnny Clegg, who's also an anthropologist and known as the White Zulu. So he tells a lot of stories about the African people in his concerts. And he told a story about a Zulu chief who used to wake up early, really early, and I'll give you the clean version of this, but he got up very early before all of his people, and this was what kept him in control. This was what made him leader for many, many years and kept him respected by all the people. And that story just stuck with me. And the thing is, nobody who I was with that evening remembers that story, but for me, it really struck me because I was trying to get up early. I was trying to improve myself. I was trying to get better habits and failing miserably. So that always stayed with me, and the getting up early, and the whole idea was that he got up before his bull, before his prize bull, even before the animals, he was up so early. And so the Rise Before Your Bull stuck with me, and it was only years later, when I finally was writing that book, that it dawned on me that, oh my gosh, this has a double meaning. And the double meaning was how I had actually finally mastered the habit of getting up early. And that was that I got up before my own bull kicked in. And my own bull is that voice in your head that tells you that you're too tired, that you didn't get enough hours sleep, that I might be getting a cold, maybe I better stay in bed another bit. So when I started to recognize that bull in my head, I overcame it by not listening to it. So getting up before that started, before that negative voice started to tell me that this wasn't a good idea. And then the whole story was then realizing that this bull is not just in the morning, that it goes on all day. and tells us what we're not capable of and what we should and shouldn't do. So it's recognizing that inner voice and overcoming it. So I have used that for many habits, for breaking bad habits, as well as creating the new positive habits. And it's recognizing and making sure that your inner chatter is supporting you towards those new goals.
Well, I'd highly recommend it to anyone. As a published author yourself and respected author, have you read any good books yourself recently that you'd recommend?
Absolutely. The last year I read Stealing Fire by Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheel, and it's about the concept of flow, which fascinates me. So being in that complete moment of creativity, or which a lot of sports people experience freely when they're in their moment, or musicians. But yeah, it's an amazing book, really, really inspirational.
Can you recommend any motivational videos or TED Talks to us that might be of interest?
There's a very good one by a guy called Tim Urban about procrastination, about the procrastination monkey. So that gives a bit of a giggle as well, as we recognize ourselves in that. But that's a great one, yeah.
And to wrap up, do you have any favourite quotes that you can share with us to finish on?
Yeah, so I'll use another one of my own. So if you want to achieve big things in life, you need to focus on the little things.
Wise wisdom indeed. So Ciara, in addition to your work as an author, you're also a motivational speaker and executive coach. If people want to get in touch, how would they go about that?
My website is just ciaraconlon.com, or through LinkedIn, or any other social media. I'm pretty active on all.
Well, Ciara, many thanks for your time. Excellent words of wisdom, which I'll be delighted to share with a broader community. Thanks again for taking the time to talk to me this morning.
Thank you, Hugh.